Tea time. This is where we talk about the truth and spill the tea. I'm so excited to introduce my friend and guest today. Her name is Amanda Jaramillo. I don't know if I said that correctly. And I'm just so excited. As most of you guys know, I use my platform to remind all of us that we've all sinned and fallen short. We've all been in a place where we never thought we were going to come back. We've all been at that, I don't want to say death's door, but when we just really think like, gosh, Lord, did you leave me? Like it can't get any worse, and especially after the pandemic. But I like to bring people on here that were in the muck and they were at the bottom. And because they turned to the Lord and allowed him to take over, they get pulled out, and then we get to hear the redeeming stories. So today I'm going to call this episode Redeeming Love Part 1. So I just want to welcome you, Amanda. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited. It's neat.
I know it takes a lot just to out of your busy schedule.
No.
Yeah.
Anything for you.
You're so sweet. You're so sweet. So we have a lot to talk about. We're going to break this up into two, usually with testimonies. We have the before Jesus and what was happening, and the after Jesus and how he pulled us together. As you guys know, I've written a book, Eternal Truth, which is my testimony. And I encourage all of you guys, whether you are a writer or would want to write a book or not, you have a testimony. Your life is your testimony, and you don't know how many other people you can help, right?
Absolutely.
So I just want to dive in. We're going to start with, I believe from your childhood, we could say that you were raised with rejection, abandonment.
Yeah, I would say so. At an early age, my mother, she took off from our family. I was 7 and my brother was 5, and so there was definitely that sense of rejection there at a young age. My dad, he was an older dad. He was about 40 when he had me, and he had a lot of mental health concerns. Like, he was in Vietnam, so
some PTSD
and just not really prepared or equipped to raise 2 kids on his own. And so there was just a lot that came with that, and just a lot of trauma and dysfunction with that. So
and you basically took on the role as mother.
I did.
Right?
I did. Yeah. I definitely was taking care of my brother and trying to take care of myself and do, like I said, he was an old fashioned, and so.
So strict, is that what you mean? Very strict, lots of
and
rules?
Also just believe that the girl is the one that does the cooking and the cleaning and the laundry and all of that. And I was very young, and so I had no example, so I had no idea what I was doing. And so it was never good enough, or never, I just always was just striving to please and never really reaching that.
Yeah, so he probably wasn't one of those dads like, thank you for making dinner.
Right.
So
he was very under a lot of stress, and in the word it says to honor your father and mother, and so I definitely want to do that, but also to speak my truth, and they did the best that they could with what they had, and so God bless them for that.
She's so sweet, and I know that, I have to always watch my mouth and watch my tongue, and this is something that I had to really not only have a talk with my mom about, but also have a talk with myself about, is because we don't do the best we can. Like, we think we're doing the best we can, but we can do better. And I know for me, that is why I call my book Eternal Truth, because the truth is, it was passed down generationally.
Yeah.
And it needs to stop.
Yeah.
And it is not fair for a 7-year-old little girl to take on the role of a mother.
Right.
It's not fair that your mom decided that drugs are more important than you. It's not fair that your dad had to go through what he went through in Vietnam and then not know how to be a father.
Right.
So I love, this is why I love Amanda, because she is the most sweet-natured, loving person, but we also become people pleasers.
Yeah.
And then we get taken advantage of. And we get taken advantage of
with that, yeah.
because we have that heart for like what we went through.
Yeah.
And, you know, sorry, I'm off track right now, but what I'm feeling like is we need to feel sorry for ourselves. And I have chills right now. So that means the Holy Spirit is here, is we need to feel sorry for ourselves. You need to honor the little Amanda and give the little Amanda the love that she deserves, and realize that, like, poor Amanda, not poor your parents, that they did the best they can, not the poor guy who's taken advantage of you and pulled you down in the muck with him, but poor Amanda.
Yeah.
And I think you're
Thank
welcome.
you for saying that. Yeah. Well, my counselor had said that to me too when I was going through the healing process in the beginning, and so you're definitely right on track there.
Yeah. Well, and why don't we do that for ourselves?
You know, I think it just comes from like you said,
Giving to other people.
That pleasing, trying to please and trying to protect, really trying to protect and yeah.
Yeah. And there's no shame in that, because the only reason I wrote Eternal Truth, and you know, and I am going to encourage you guys to get my book, and here's why. Yeah, it's my story and whatever, but I want you guys to understand that I was like you, Amanda, and this show isn't about me today, but I was like you. I had to become the mother. That wasn't fair to me. Then I got married and was still a mother. Then I was a wife. I never got to know me. I never knew who I was. And so once my kids grew up and I realized that my ex was probably never going to stop cheating on me, I had to figure out who I was. And the only way you can find that identity is through the Lord, and allowing him to love you. And that's one of the reasons I feel the Lord laid it on my heart to call this Redeeming Love. And any of you guys out there, I know right now, it's one of our favorite books.
It is. I just learned that right before we
started. And I didn't know that. And so I love when the Lord gives us something. But we have to remember that this is a verse he gave me for you, is Isaiah 43:1. But now this is what the Lord says. He who created you, Amanda, it says Jacob in here, but Amanda, he who formed you, Amanda, do not fear, for I have redeemed you. I have summoned you by name. You are mine.
I just love that.
Isn't that?
Absolutely.
And when we put our name in there and understand, and, you know, when I left my ex and left my family behind, you know, it wasn't for drugs. It was for Jesus.
Right.
It was like, I deserved better.
Yeah.
I deserve more. I had the house, I had the cars, but I knew I deserved to be honored. I deserve to be loved. I deserve to be cherished.
Yeah.
And so with you, let's get back on your story. Sorry. I just went on a little tangent there. Sorry.
You have a powerful testimony, and I would definitely encourage you all to read her testimony as well. It's powerful.
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
all of our testimonies are. Well, and back to you, like, my mom didn't leave because of drugs, but I had an alcoholic father. And any parent that leaves you, there's an abandonment.
Sure.
And your story didn't get any better.
Yeah, it didn't. It did not.
Back then. So I don't know if let me just do some bullet points and you jump in.
Yeah.
But so your mom leaves, you're 7 years old. Your dad, who wasn't a very good father because he's old fashioned.
Right.
And we do respect the fact that you're honoring them and acknowledging. And I try to do that for my mom too.
Yeah.
And I'm great that my kids do that for me.
But there were real things that happened, real dysfunction that definitely did lead to you know, what happened after that. And so
he dies at the age of 17.
Yeah, he did. He passed away of a heart attack. And boy, that was just heartbreaking. Heartbreaking.
Well, do you kind of feel like, what now? Who's going to take care of us?
Absolutely. I was,
because at least he was providing.
Do with my brother, who was only 15, and so there was just a lot of confusion, a lot of grief, a lot of sorrow. You know, almost, which felt weird, some relief for me.
Yeah, I bet.
Which was
the
just
pressure was probably taken off of you.
That's hard to say, but honestly, just with all of the things that were happening, the dysfunctional punishments and crazy things that were happening, that was just kind of like, almost felt a little relief with that. But
well, I actually don't feel bad about that. Like, I appreciate, and I know that there's probably a lot of people out there that feel the same way. And again, that's not dishonoring, because we have to honor ourselves.
Right,
If the greatest commandment is love your God with all your mind, heart, and soul, but then love your neighbor as yourself.
Yeah.
We take that out, and we love our neighbors, but we don't love ourselves.
Yeah.
So we actually can't really love them. And that's what I love about you, is you have a super big heart, but then you get taken advantage of in this situation as we keep rolling. So Mom comes back on the scene.
She did. She came back in to the picture from a different state, and was the conservator for the little bit of money that my dad had left for my brother and I, and really just came and blew through that. And
I was going to say, did she honor it at all?
No. And she was still in her addiction, and so very bad alcoholic. And so I remember the third day that she was there, she had moved into our apartment, and my brother and I were sleeping in the living room on the floor, just waiting for her to come back one night. And then when she finally came back, she just had glass in her hair. She had long hair, and bruises, and she had gotten in a horrible DUI accident in my dad's car, and so my dad's car was totaled. So we didn't have a car and this little apartment, and so.
And you're 17 years old, and all you've had is all of this weight your entire life, and now you have even more weight, and that little ounce of relief that you felt with not having your dad, now you have your mom.
Absolutely.
Not to mention your little brother, which I'm sure you're trying to protect him and take care of him, which I know. Was that the point in time that you had shipped your little brother off?
We sent him to Job Corps in Montana, and so that is one of the best decisions I felt like I had made as a young adult.
You're protecting him.
And he went straight into the Army from there, and he served 8 years, and is doing really well. So,
that's real love. That's true love. So, it's crazy, because we have our ideas of what love is. And that was true love. And you took care of him and had your natural instincts of what a mother, would do, even though no one showed you.
He had to get out of there.
Which I love. So now we're going to get into the gritty part of, after everything that she's gone through, after all the hardship, even watching your mom not only leave for drugs, but also come back in the house and waste everything for drugs. You are old enough to now make your own decisions, and you go out and you. How long was it until you found? Is his name Andrew?
Gosh, so that was definitely later. But I wasn't doing well in school, so I started going to alternative high schools, and I just, as you can imagine, wasn't doing well. I just was checked out, and so I had met, a guy that did drugs, and just ended up getting into that world, and that just fixed everything. I was like, oh, well, there we go.
Here we go. Isn't it crazy? And I think you and I know more because we went through a program that helped us understand generational pass downs, is that out of anything that you would have thought you wouldn't do, the last thing you would do is pick a bad guy and get into drugs.
Right.
And I'm the same way. Like, the last thing I would have done is married someone like my father.
Right.
Like, the last thing. Or become like my mother.
Right. Yes.
But you don't know anything else.
Yeah.
You literally don't know anything else.
Yeah.
So when we talk about breaking the generational chains, it is when you go against what is the norm in your family.
What's comfortable.
What's comfortable. Yeah. So you go straight into meth?
Yep. Okay. Straight into using meth. And I just, it was a snowball. I just, I quickly ended up pregnant. I didn't find out I was pregnant for about 3 months. When I did, I was able to stop using, which was a blessing because I hadn't been using for that long prior. So I feel like that was definitely a blessing because so my brother helped me name my daughter. We named her Grace. But she was my saving grace because I was starting to go downhill, right? And So I have her. I'm kind of trying to keep it together.
And you're what, 18 now?
18.
18. Okay, so she's trying to keep it together, age of 18. Now she's a mom, which is all she's ever known, is being a mom.
I'm not going to finish high school. I'll just get my GED.
Which is good. At least you did that. You have to give yourself credit for that. Okay.
And then I enrolled in dental assisting school, and I was working towards doing that and just being sober and trying to just hang in there and really just hang in there.
Okay. And then once she was born.
When she was born, there was a stint of sobriety there, you know, but then the stress started coming, and my mom she did help me with Grace. She had a really soft spot in her heart for Grace, and so she and my stepdad were there for me with that, and kind of, you know, took it down a notch as far as the drinking went, and so and I think that they saw that I wasn't handling things very well, and so soon after that I just spiraled back into using.
You know, I've never done drugs, but I know that you're probably my 5th person on here that meth is usually what takes them off track. And so what is it about the drug? Because is it just numb everything and you just pretend everything, you know, you can just go into your own little world?
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah, and so you don't have to deal with anything.
And there's like this little secret community of people that you know, don't see the sunlight. No. That you think is your community. You have this little community, and you guys are all.
You're finally accepted. You're accepted now. You guys now you have a family. Now anything that you felt as a child, somebody else can actually relate to you.
Exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yep. And then you get pregnant with your son.
No, so I meet who is my husband now.
Okay.
And
so Grace's father's different.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. And so I meet him. He, you know, he sells drugs. He's at a different level of drug use and drug dealing than I'm at. That's for sure. And he definitely kind of swept me off my feet and had nice cars and nice things and smooth talk, I suppose.
So he was able to come in and swoop in as the Prince Charming. Yeah, that's what my book's about, is Prince Charming. You know, maybe these Prince Charmings are not such princes, right?
I know, not an addiction.
We need to go for the Prince of Peace and stop going for the Prince of Prince Charming. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can relate. Yeah. I know that. And I think every one of us, whether it's a girl or a guy, which most of us girls, is we were created to meet a partner. We were created to be loved. The problem is that we seek it in another person. And if we're broken, the chances are we're going to find another broken person. Absolutely. And usually we find someone that mirrors us. And if that's rejection, it's rejection. If it's abandonment, it's abandonment. So then you fit together like a glove. And what we call it these days is your soulmate. But what the reality is that your souls are connected, but it is not a good thing. Right. Because your soul ties end up there from wounds. And so it's funny how everybody's like, oh, he's my soulmate. And I don't know if that's a good thing or not. What I want to say is he my kingdom husband? Instead of is he my soulmate?
Absolutely. Yeah. Praise God, yeah.
Okay, so now when do you find out you're pregnant again?
So we decide after a while, after we burned all our bridges, and he had gotten shot at one point in the arm, and we're just, you know, we're not doing too good, you know, because it's fun until it's not, right? So we decide that we're going to move outside of Denver. That's where I'm from, is Colorado, and about an hour outside, and get married. Obviously, we took Grace with us.
Because marriage solves everything. Yes. That is what my book's about, too. Babies and marriage will just solve everything.
That's right. Absolutely. So, yeah, we got married. My brother came in his full Army uniform, and my mom was able to be there, and my stepdad. And so it felt real, you know, even though I know now that we were just playing house, kind of. You know, we're just hanging on, you know, white knuckling it. So we were able to keep that up for a few years. We planned our son and had our son Anthony, and so we did.
Are you guys off of drugs at this point in time?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yep. Oh, good. Okay, so you're off of drugs. You now are
Coming
back together as a family.
Sure.
You're
but
married.
Of course, we're still drinking because that's okay.
Yeah. Well, I always just tell people one step at a time.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
It's like I'm no longer doing drugs, but I'm still not fully like healed. Yeah. But it's okay. But that's what our bodies. We need something to numb, and if we don't have the Lord or have that peace, we're always going to find something.
Sure.
Whether it's eating, whether it's exercising can be an addiction as well. It's a healthier addiction, but it can still overtake and override. So,
so we were definitely not the picture of sobriety.
Yeah.
So we were able to do that for a little while, and then of course somebody that moved into our little fourplex that we had there, and we're just back downhill. Because we had no coping skills, we had no idea we had nothing except for our brokenness and our
Well, it's almost like a self-will. I think that for especially us survivors, when you're in survival mode for the majority of your, especially childhood, you actually don't realize how strong you are because you've survived. And we are actually in a state in our what do you call it, regulating our system at this high level of stress, because it's so normal that in these situations we actually can function as if normal. So it feels normal to us. We learn how to manage it, but the reality is if we don't get some sort of help or guidance or learn, then it's eventually gonna just keep repeating the cycle.
No example of all our parents were either addicts or dysfunctional, and our foundation was just made of sand. You need to build your foundation on Christ, and we definitely did not have that.
Well, the majority of the world doesn't, and so I think that's when it crumbles. We can't be surprised, because
when the rains come.
It's really crazy how God knew everything that was going to happen, and he put it in the book, and we can mock it and basically call it religious, but he really truly did give us a map.
Absolutely.
He gave us a map, and in that book he's not showing that everybody's perfect. I mean, people have many wives, people are having affairs,
murderers.
There's murderers, there's alcoholics, and so I think that if we really truly understood how loving of a father he is, that we see it as it's too religious, but he really just wants to show us the abundance of a life that we could have. So I know at this point in time, who passed away first or committed suicide?
So my husband had gone to prison. I just was spiraling. I called my brother and I asked if I could come to Arizona with the kids, and he had just gotten married and had kind of his own life going on, and so he said, send the kids, you kind of get yourself together. I don't think he understood what exactly was happening, possibly, and so that's what I did. I sent the kids out out here to Arizona, and I just absolutely spiraled further down than I ever thought I would go. And so after that happened, I had sent the kids out here. There was just, we weren't having good communication.
Because your brother, in a way, was trying to protect the kids, but you didn't really realize that. Because when we're in the muck, we don't really see what they're seeing.
I just feel the rejection of it, of course.
Oh, of course. And abandonment, because here's your brother that you've loved and taken care of, and now you're going to feel like you're going to turn against me too. Because again, real love doesn't look like our fairy tale love of what we think it should look like.
And I had put him through quite a bit, just with just things that that he kind of knew better than to bring me out there, I suppose, as well. But so that happened. We weren't communicating, and so they ended up they stopped talking to me and stopped letting me talk to the kids. And so that went on for about a year, and then is when I got my first felony. I stole a car.
Oh my gosh.
That's what I do. And
I stole a car when I was younger too. So look at how a dysfunctional family just keeps trickling down.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't want to run out of time.
Sure.
We're going to have a second episode here about all the good stuff, but you're at rock bottom.
Yeah, my rights were severed to my kids.
Was this before your mom and the stepdad committed suicide?
I found out that on the same day, which is hard, but at least it all was at once, I suppose. Is when I was, after I gotten out of jail for the car, I was in a shelter and I found out that my mom had committed suicide, and that also when I finally called the Department of Child Safety, and they said that my rights had been severed. So that happened on the same day, and that is when I just broke. Yeah.
I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine. So you've been incarcerated now, and was that in Colorado or was that in Arizona?
That was in Arizona. I made it all the way to Sedona.
Okay, so you stole the car to come to Arizona. Okay, so she's coming to get her kids. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So, I don't want to miss any good parts of the story. We don't want to just look at you as a thief. No, it's okay. We don't want to see you as a thief. You're literally like, hey, like, I want my kids.
Yeah, and I was a thief as well in my addiction,
Okay.
Yep. Well, I know it's hard to see that in me.
I think why I like to do these shows is because I know that a lot of times we're so judged by our outer appearances, and you are seriously probably one of the most kindest, sweet women that I've ever met.
Thank you.
So, and stealing a car doesn't make that any different.
Thank you.
But I do know that is, just like it says in the Word, that the Lord knew who we were before we were born.
Yeah, absolutely.
He knew who you were. He knew who He created you to be. And all the stuff that happens to us, that's why you always hear, like, I'm not what happened to me. Even for people that have been molested or raped and stuff, if we can really get our head out of that and understand, I was raised by two people that didn't know what they were doing. Then I found somebody else who didn't know what they were doing. The dysfunction just kept going, and it just keeps trickling down.
Sure, absolutely.
So we're running out of time, and here we are. We're going to end here in the muck, because this is where we would all give up. This is where we would all basically, especially not turn to the Lord. Right. But in this situation, in this redeeming love, we're going to start our second episode with how not only did she come out of the muck, she's been risen above, and she is his. Absolutely. And so thank you so much for joining us today. Anybody out there that's feeling this way, I hope this story will inspire you. You can reach out to me through www.territafoya.com, or you can reach us through HSPN as well. But if you need prayer or there's anything that we can do to help you get pulled out of the muck, then make sure that you reach out to us. So Amanda, thank you. We'll go ahead and film our second episode. Okay. And everybody, just thank you so much for joining us. Have a wonderful day.